Hello everybody, I'm David Brody. Welcome to the Watercooler. Well, it's the main story everybody is talking about today, the first presidential debate between Joe Biden and President Trump. So what should we expect tonight? Maybe a cage match, a Wild West saloon brawl? I can guarantee you it's not going to be a scene from Little House on the Prairie. This is going to get ugly, and it's going to happen pretty quickly. We're going to dissect it all. Also today, President Trump complains constantly about all the mail-in balloting fraud that is about to take place in this year's general election. So how much of what he is saying is accurate? We've got some answers. And Faith in America, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Ben Carson, is out with a new faith-based effort called the Mustard Seed Series. And this has nothing to do with actual deli mustard. We're talking about mustard seeds from the Bible. The tiny seeds are significant to Jews, Christians, and Muslims. We're going to explore all of that. And what a transition, because joining us now in the studio, none other than HUD Secretary Dr. Ben Carson. Secretary Carson, thanks for being here. Really
wonderful to be with you again.
We're going to get to all of the faith, mustard seed talk in our next block. You'll stick around for that. But some news of the day. I know the Hatch Act. Everybody talks about the Hatch Act. Right. You can't talk politics. But when it comes to this debate, what are some things that you're, if not looking for, what you think the president might be thinking right about now?
Well, I'm hoping that that both candidates will be truthful about what their beliefs are, because they tend to be rather divergent, and that gives the American people a very, very clear choice. Are we looking at a system that is adherent to our Constitution, believes in the integrity of our Constitution, believes that the country is of, for, and by the people? Or do we want a system that perhaps thinks the government is the be-all and end-all, and that the people are there to kind of serve the government? It'd be a very, very clear choice. I'm not saying which one is which. People will have to decide that on their own.
That's the disclaimer. I got you. Obviously, COVID is going to be a subject tonight, and I want to talk to you about COVID, specifically about the CARES Act. I mean, you are responsible for dispersing $12 billion worth of CARES Act money. How is that being dispersed? What's happening on the COVID front as it relates to HUD?
Well, we obviously were able to disperse that money very quickly because the needs were very severe. And the last thing we wanted to happen was for people to lose their home when they're concerned about their health. So in terms of helping people so that we have forbearance and a moratorium on evictions and on foreclosures. We also provided mechanisms for reassessing people's income who are getting subsidized homes. They can be recertified so that if they now no longer have income coming in because of COVID, the subsidy can be increased to take care of that particular issue. We have toolkits that we have made available so that both the tenants and the landlords have a roadmap for what they need to do in order to prevent evictions from occurring.
I was going to say, how confident are you that evictions won't occur under this administration?
Well, for the last several months, everybody's been talking about the eviction crisis and the tsunami of evictions. So far, it hasn't occurred, and we're going to continue to work hard to try to make sure that it does not occur.
Let me ask you about COVID as it relates to, you're a doctor, and you don't even play one on television. You're actually a doctor, but obviously HUD Secretary too. So talk to me about this Operation Warp Speed and this idea that we think a vaccine might be on its way pretty soon. How confident are you in a vaccine that could get here in the next few months? Because I know a lot of Americans might be saying, well, wait a minute, I don't know if I want to take this vaccine.
Well, there is no question this is unprecedented to move this quickly and to have the kind of cooperation between the various companies in order to get this done. This is not something that happens. They're like bitter rivals. So to have 3 companies now that are in phase 3, first you go through a phase 1, you look at safety, phase 2, and you look at efficacy, phase 3. And before you go from one phase to another, there are a whole bunch of boxes that have to be checked off. So you can't just say, well, let's just skip to the next phase. So people who are worried that maybe shortcuts are being taken and safety is being neglected, it is not true. It's impossible to proceed through the various trials without checking all the boxes.
Are you concerned, we talked about this on the program yesterday, that vaccines could be mandatory, COVID mandatory vaccines could happen? I mean, I know in schools it's different, school-age kids, but I mean, you've talked a lot about overreach of government. I mean, you get on an airplane, you show your ID, and proof of purchase for the vaccine as well. Go to a sporting event. I mean,
Right.
there is government creep here to a degree.
Yeah, there's no question there is. And it's very important that people be well educated about the pros and cons of vaccines, and particularly of this vaccine. Don't keep people in the dark. American people are very smart in general, which is one of the reasons that I'm not as concerned about what's going to happen as some people are, because people are smarter than you give them credit for, and they figure out a lot of stuff on their own. And they will very quickly discover that these vaccinations are very beneficial. They permit you to be able to go back to normal lifestyle. Also, there are some therapeutics that are in the pipeline as well.
That's true.
That are pretty amazing. I don't want to get into it, but it's pretty amazing. We just need to speed the process up.
Speaking about the process being sped up, do you feel comfortable that a vaccine could be ready before Election Day or in the next month or two, or you think that might be rushing it a little bit too much, or pushing it?
A lot of it has to do with the accrual.
Okay.
When the tests are put out there, if you have a very large accrual, you get the information very quickly. If people just trickle in, it takes a much longer period of time to get the information.
Let me ask about a little bit about media bias. You've talked about this for a long time. So here you are, been HUD Secretary for a while. What is your sense of the media landscape as it relates to how HUD is covered, the issues that HUD has to deal with? And it seems to me like the media seems to want to go with the sensational all the time as it relates to this president, and wonder if some of these key issues that you're working on get undermined.
Well, there's no question that the media has changed from pure information to an agenda. And I find it kind of fascinating because a lot of the people in the media are pretty smart. And, why don't they understand that if we move to socialism, the first thing that they control is the media?
Good point.
Maybe they don't know history. I don't know. But, the reason that the media is the only business protected by the Constitution is because they're supposed to disseminate information in an unbiased way to the people so the people can make reasonable choices. But when they have a stake in it and they decide they need to move people in this direction or this direction, it really distorts the original plan that our founders had.
I want to give you a chance to respond to what was just in the news recently, the Inspector General clearing you of this ethics violation as it relates to a proposed ethics violation. Give us a chance to, or I want to give you a chance to respond to that, because there's some Democrats that would love to see you go down.
No question. And this is the second time the IG has cleared me. There was the furniture thing, completely cleared of that, absolutely no wrong. In fact, they said it's admirable what we did in terms of putting some financial controls in place. And then, Washington is about the only place where, you can be convicted or at least accused of ethics violation for talking to your family.
How dare they do that?
How dare they do that? Yeah. So, unfortunately, people won't hear a whole lot about it. Yeah. You heard a lot about it before. Carson should resign. He's unethical. And now, crickets, guaranteed crickets. They don't care. But, I think most people, certainly anybody who knows me, knows my relationship with God and the truth.
Secretary Carson, stick right there, okay? We're going to talk a little bit, because when we come back, Dr. Carson and I are going to discuss the important new faith-based series debuting at HUD called The Mustard Seed. Very interesting and biblical. Back in a moment.